The year is 1929. Nigeria is not yet Nigeria as we know it. It is a colony stitched together by the threads of empire, a land ruled not by its people, but by distant strangers who claim it as their own. The southeast, home to the Igbo, hums with life. Markets are the beating heart of every town and village. From dawn, women spread mats on the earth, piling them with palm oil, dried fish, cassava, vegetables, and bright cloth. The air is thick with the smell of smoke from cooking fires, the salt of the nearby creeks, the chatter of bargaining voices rising like waves. Here, women are not simply sellers. They are the lifeblood of the economy. In Igbo society, a man might farm his yam, but a woman carries it to market, trades it, and multiplies its worth. The rhythm of survival, the flow of wealth, runs through their hands. But women's power is not only economic, they are also political. In Igbo culture, governance is not a pyramid with one ruler at the top. It is a web, councils of elders, assemblies of men, and crucially, assemblies of women. A woman is not voiceless. She belongs to a network, the Umwada, the daughters of the lineage, and the Mikiri, the women's councils that meet to decide on justice, disputes, and community issues. In these councils, women sing when wrong has been done. They act as the conscience of the land. If a man abuses his power, they come together, mothers, sisters, grandmothers, and they shame him through a ritual known as sitting on a man. They surround his house, banging pots, clapping, singing mocking songs that strip away his dignity until he is forced to change. For generations, this balance between men and women has kept Igbo society steady. No one rules alone. Power is shared, negotiated, checked. But then, the British arrived. By the 1920s, colonial rule had been forced onto this world, and with it came a system the British called indirect rule. To them, it seemed clever. They would govern through locals, appointing warrant chiefs who would act as middlemen between the empire and the people. But there was a fatal flaw. These warrant chiefs were not chosen by the people. They were imposed. Many were men with little legitimacy, elevated suddenly above their neighbors. They were granted power backed by colonial soldiers and British courts. And with this power came corruption, arrogance, and greed. For Igbo society, it was like a disease. Authority no longer came from consensus or tradition. It came from paper warrants signed in offices miles away. The delicate web of shared governance began to tear apart. The chiefs demanded forced labor. They handed down harsh fines. They silenced women's assemblies. And slowly, a society that had thrived on balance tilted under the weight of a foreign system. Yet the empire wanted more. By 1929, taxes had already been introduced on men, on farmland, on trade. Every coin taken was shipped overseas to feed the empire's hunger. Resentment simmered, but men bore the brunt quietly. Then came whispers that women too would be taxed. For Igbo women, this was not just unfair, it was an attack on their very being. Women's wealth was their pride, their independence, their power. To take it was to humiliate them, to strip them of dignity, to render them invisible in a world where they had always been seen. Among these women was one whose life already carried the marks of struggle, Nwanyirua. She was a widow, living in Oloko near Aba. Without a husband, she bore the weight of survival on her own. She traded in the market, stretched every coin, and clung to the fragile thread of respect that widowhood allowed. Each day she woke before dawn, tied her wrapper, and stepped into the crowded markets. A sea of voices and colors where women like her scraped together enough to feed their children, to patch their homes, to endure. But widowhood in Igbo culture carried both vulnerability and strength. She had no man to speak for her, but she also answered to no man. Her voice was her own, sharpened by hardship. And it was this voice, ordinary and unassuming, that would soon become the spark of a war. The world around her was shifting. The British demanded more from the warrant chiefs. The chiefs demanded more from the people. And on the horizon, the storm clouds of taxation on women began to gather. No one yet knew how quickly those clouds would break. But in the markets of Aba, in the songs of the women's councils and the silent endurance of widows like Nwanyirua, the seeds of defiance were already being sown. History was moving toward a confrontation. A confrontation that would pit voices against guns, tradition against empire, women against the weight of the world. And when the spark finally came, it would not only shake the colonial government, it would echo across generations as one of the fiercest acts of women's resistance ever seen in Africa. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next chapter of history's forgotten voices.